Let's go ahead and get started because I've been chatting a little longer than normal. So I'm going to mute everybody on my end. What we're going to need today are 2 blocks, a blanket, and possibly a strap. And we are going to start actually on our stomachs. So bring your blocks maybe toward the upper corners of your mat. And then you can go ahead and put the blanket somewhere off to the side, strap also somewhere off to the side. It's not really needed, but if you want it. And because of some of the things that we'll do, our blocks, we might actually put them with a little bit more space than we ordinarily would, just somewhere near the top. And then when you find yourself on your stomach, find yourself in heads up, 7-up style. So either stack your hands right on top of each other and then your forehead on top of your hands, or you might cross your forearms right on top of each other. It's just a little bit more height. Your elbows are a little closer together, and then your forehead on top. And the first thing that you'll do when you're here is notice if you need to widen your feet. So if you want your feet at least hip distance apart or wider, see how that feels. And then notice if you want your toes to point out or if you want your toes to point in. And then if you need to wiggle your hips around a little bit, notice that. And then we'll find ourselves in a still neutral spot. And I want you to just take a couple of breaths here, really feeling what it feels like to let the bones of the body be heavy. So the arms to be heavy, the elbows to be heavy, the hips, the chest, the legs, the feet, everything be heavy. And then start to begin to breathe into your belly, into the floor. And as you start to breathe into the belly and into the floor, you might notice just how this movement starts to change. Start to notice whether or not there's a little bit of space that's created, and if so, where it's created. Start to notice where there's a bit of pressure and just how that feels. And then, if you can, start to deepen your breath. So start to make your inhales a little bit longer and your exhales a little bit longer. And as you're here for these next 3 to 4 breaths, just notice how much fuller you can make the breath almost by just letting go. So really allowing more of the weight to spill into the floor. And noticing that creates space in the belly and the low back, in the ribs, maybe even all the way up into the shoulders. Awesome. At the end of this next exhalation, you're going to lift your head away from your hands or your arms, and then walk your hands and your arms forward in front of you. So it's not a full sphinx, it's like a baby pretend sphinx. Your head's lifted just a little bit. You're going to slide your left arm underneath. You're going to slide your right arm in front. Now you can choose if you want your palms to face up or your palms to face down, but you'll curl your toes under beneath you and then start to roll forward. Walk your hands a little further apart, right to left, and maybe let your forehead rest onto the mat. And we're just finding a little bit of a stretch across the upper back between where your spine and your shoulder blades are. You might also feel a little bit of a stretch, a pull across the upper part of your arm. And we're just pausing and breathing here in this little bit of compression. And Barbara, see if you can bring more of your chest to the floor unless that doesn't feel good for you. Great, and you've just got 2 more breath cycles here, and just notice what you notice in this shape. Nice work. At the end of your next exhalation, you're going to slowly start to walk your hands back towards their respective sides. Return to your baby mini sphinx, so your hands are forward of your chest, your elbows are far forward of your shoulders, and you just take a moment to be there. And this time I want you to press into your pinky toenails and your big toenails and press a little bit into your elbows and see if you can lengthen up through your spine just a smidge. On your next exhale, you're going to take the right hand, thread it underneath you to the left. Left hand will go over to the right. Again, palms can be up, palms can be down. It's totally up to you. And then you might curl your toes under and roll your body forward so that more of your chest feels supported by the arms, feels supported by the floor. If you've done that, extend the tops of the feet back to the floor. Allow the forehead to come to the floor if it will. And you just take a couple of breaths here, noticing again, do you feel a little bit of squish in the front? So it's around your chest, your armpit area. But then do you feel a bit of stretch? Maybe along the upper outer arms, maybe across the back between the shoulder blades and the spine. And then, of course, amongst all of that, are you breathing? How does the belly feel against the floor as you continue to inhale? And how does the back feel as you exhale? At the end of this next exhalation, you'll start to walk the hands back to their respective sides and bring your forearms in front of you once again. Now, this time you're going to walk your elbows back maybe 2 inches. So they're still in front of your shoulders, just a smidge. And you're going to press into the tops of your pinky toenails and your big toenails. You're going to isometrically pull back with your hands and lift up and forward through your crown and through your sternum. And you just take a couple of breaths here, noticing what you notice. Long, steady breaths. Nice work. On your next exhale, let's return to heads up, 7 up. So hands come back underneath your forehead. Big toes may touch, or maybe big toes spread out to the right and to the left. And again, you just take a moment to breathe here. How does this feel? What do you feel, and where do you feel it? Staying in this position, slide your left knee out to the left like a half frog position. So your knee is bent in a 90-degree angle. See if you can bring your left foot in line with your left knee so that your knee's also at a 90-degree angle. And you might just choose to stay here, feeling this nice, gentle stretch, maybe an opening across your low back. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you'll return your hands to maybe that baby sphinx pose. So your elbows are here. And you might be like, yeah, this is fantastic. I want to stay here. Maybe you walk your elbows back just a smidge. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you might look over your left shoulder and you might find a long stretch happening across your right front body. And you just pause and you breathe here. And you might notice that the more you walk your elbows back towards your pelvis, the more of an upper back bend you can get. So if you want that stretch on the right side, that may help with that. And then when you're ready, you'll gently come back through center with your spine. You'll bring your elbows back down, forehead back down, and then slide your left leg in back to Nakrasana, crocodile pose. And you'll just take a couple of breaths here. And you just notice, what do you notice between your right side and your left side? How does the low back feel in particular? How is the breath moving through the body? I've been thinking about this idea of change and how it's the one constant, but yet we're always trying to get to a state of homeostasis. And sometimes to get back to that balance, we actually have to do some things that kind of create a sense of imbalance. So let's go ahead and draw our right knee out to the right. Again, that half frog shape. Right knee is roughly 90-degree angle. And then we've got a right angle with the hip. And you might just choose to stay here and just continue to breathe and notice what you notice happening in your low back, what you notice happening in your belly. Some of you might come to our baby sphinx pose. So you'll walk your elbows. They're pretty far forward of your shoulders. There's a slight bend in the elbows, and you might stay completely here. Some of you might walk your elbows back just a smidge, and you can again stay here and breathe. Or you might start to look over your right shoulder and just find a gentle stretch happening across the front of your left body as you continue to breathe. And if you are doing that last variation, the closer your elbows are towards towards being underneath your shoulders, the more intense that will feel. So if you feel a lot and you want less, walk your elbows forward. If you don't feel a lot, maybe walk your elbows back. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and turn the gaze back to center. Go ahead and walk the elbows forward, stack the hands, bring the forehead down, and then step your right leg to meet the left. Once you're back there again, find your heads up, 7 up crocodile position. And again, just breathe, giving the body a chance to catch up and come back to neutral before we go on. Nice work. When you're ready, we'll come back to Sphinx once again. Actually, no. I lied. Go back to your belly. Cactus your arms out to a 90-degree angle. Now, some of you can keep your elbows bent, or you might straighten your arms out to the right and to the left like a T. It's totally up to you. But I'm going to start with a bent variation. So we're going to look towards our left. Step your left hand underneath your left elbow. And then you're going to start to maybe pull your ribs and chest a little bit towards the left as you then roll to the right. Now, if your right elbow is bent, you're not going to get very far, so that's okay. If your right elbow is straight, you'll probably get a lot further. But in either case, we're going to push down into our right hand. We're going to drag isometrically our chest towards our left hand, and maybe you bend your left knee and put the left foot on the floor behind you. Maybe you don't. But we're just going to pause and breathe and notice what we notice happening now. This is a very different sensation, perhaps, than any of the other ones we've explored so far. And just notice how that impacts your breathing. Notice if you can continue to just deepen the breath as maybe the mind starts to tell you different stories about the sensations. At the end of your next exhalation, you'll gently release and come back onto your belly. And return your arms either to the T or the cactus position. And you'll just take a couple of breaths here and you just notice what you notice. How is the body? How is the breath? And how are you? Okay, let's go ahead and take our gaze to the right now. Step the right hand where the right elbow was. And then you're going to start to push down into your left hand or elbow. Drag your rib cage towards that right hand. Maybe bend the right knee and stack the right foot, or rather step the right foot behind you. But you're just going to pause and breathe here. Notice what you notice on this side. Again, do you want to just allow yourself to release into the shape? Do you want to allow your head to lift a bit away from the floor? Great. You've got one more breath cycle here. And then at the end of your next exhalation, you'll gently come back onto your belly, heads up 7 once again. And you just take a moment to pause, finding that equilibrium, finding that balance in the midst of everything. Fantastic. All right, from here, let's go ahead and take a moment to find Sphinx proper. So bring your elbows directly underneath your shoulders, your forearms in the shape of a number 11. Extend back through both legs and extend the tops of your feet onto the floor. And just as we did a little bit ago, you're going to pull the hands back isometrically, pull the heart and sternum forward and through. Now, this time I want you to pay attention to what your shoulder blades are doing on the back. Can you feel the shoulder blades support the chest coming forward and then up? And then can you maybe press down on your pubic bone as you press down into your toes and see if you can energize your legs a little bit more? Nice work. All right, next exhale, go ahead and lower down, heads up, 7-up style once again. Great, so we're gonna do about 10 of these. On your next in-breath, go ahead and lift your left leg as high as you can. Squeeze all the muscles around your left leg. And then on your next exhale, lower the left leg down. Inhale, go ahead and lift your right leg high as you can. Squeeze all the muscles around that left leg. And then exhale, lower it down. You've got 4 more sets on your own. And you're trying to take a complete breath cycle when that leg is lifted. And your head can be down lower or it can be up, whatever feels best to you. And you're going to lower down. And so we're taking a complete breath cycle because it just allows the muscles to fire a little bit more. And you just pause and you breathe. Fantastic. And you're going at your own breath pace. And you're just keeping all of the muscles engaged around the lifted leg. And you might start to notice the pressure that's coming into your pelvis. Do you notice if both your right and your left ASIS, so those are the top 2 hip bones, are pressing into the floor evenly, or are you kind of dipping to the opposite side of the lifted leg, or maybe you're dipping to the side of the lifted leg? You just pay attention to that for you and notice. You guys are going to have to keep me honest. I'm on my 6th one, but I think you guys might have already done 8. So we'll do 2 more. And you just pause and you breathe. Full complete breath cycle with the leg lifted before you lower it down. Do, 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 do. Okay, we'll call this our last one. Nice work. All right. After you've completed your last one, you'll go ahead and just take a moment to pause. And this time, let's bring our hands alongside our ribs. So normal cobra position. Thumbs are pointed roughly in line with your nipples. And from here, we're going to go ahead and press down through the tops of our feet. You're going to energize through your legs and then push down through your hands and isometrically pull them back as you pull your heart and sternum forward and through. And inhale, lift your chest. And then exhale, lower down. You've got 5 of these. And you're just paying attention. So you pull your heart forward as you pull your hands back, as you reach your toes back. And you're just finding perhaps a little bit of engagement in the arms. You're finding that upper thoracic extension. So that's in our upper back, finding a little bit of a back bend. And you're just following it, your breath, entering and exiting the pose. All right, we'll say that this is 4. So let's do one more. This next time that you come up, let's go ahead and stay here. Now I want you to see if you can isometrically pull the hands back a little bit more. Notice if that allows you to broaden your collarbones and pull your heart forward just a smidge. Now hug the shoulder blades towards each other on your back. Reach so far back through your legs that your feet, or through your feet that your legs float up. And then I want you to press your pubic bone down. Now hover your hands an inch or 2 away from the floor. Hug your shoulder blades towards each other. Hug the elbows towards each other and see if you can lift the legs a little higher. If you can press your pubic bone down a little bit and lift the chest a little higher. We'll stay here for 3. We'll stay here for 2. We'll stay here for 1. Go ahead and lower all the way down. And take a moment to rest and take a moment to breathe. And you just notice what you notice happening here. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and move on. Slide your right arm forward towards your screen, towards the top of your mat. Step your left leg out to that half frog shape, so it's bent at a 90-degree angle. Cool. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will step your left hand under your left shoulder. Slide your right hand underneath you to the left. Great. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will bend your right knee, that's your back knee. Take your left hand and grab the outside edge of your right foot. Now you'll notice that you've suddenly found this crazy intense quad stretch for a lot of us, especially if you're using your left hand to hold your right foot. And as you're here, you might lengthen your tailbone down towards your right knee a little bit more and just stay here. So Laura, use oh no, you're good. Okay. And some of you will stay right here. Some of you are going to start to roll back behind you. So suddenly you find yourself in a supine twist. So if you've done that, you're going to roll towards your left until your left shoulder comes towards the mat. You might inchworm your right hand even more, I guess now towards what is your right side if your chest is facing the top of the sky. And you suddenly found yourself in the supine twist. It's called twisted monkey, and you're now possibly looking up towards the sky. So if you're doing all that, great. If you're not, awesome. Wherever you are, let's just go ahead and take a moment to breathe. Great. And you might bring your right hand to the top of your left thigh if that feels like something that would be fun for you. And you can draw the left knee closer towards your shoulder, chest, upper part of the mat. And you just pause and you breathe. And it's this incredibly intense rotation across the abdomen. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. If you're doing all that twisted monkey stuff, you're going to start to roll back towards your right. So you're going to come back towards your abdomen. You come back to that weird quad stretch thing. Go ahead and release your right leg. Go ahead and release your left arm. Release your right arm forward and find yourself back into the Krasana of the other side. And you just take a moment. So sometimes you don't feel a lot of it until you come out of the shape. So just notice what you notice as we come back to this neutral place, as the body tries to find its homeostasis once again. Great. And when you're ready, we'll try all that on the other side. So we'll go ahead and start by extending our left arm forward towards the top of our mat or towards our screen. Your right leg is going to come out in that half frog shape. Now, your right hand will come underneath your right shoulder, like top of fingers. And then you're going to slide your left arm underneath you to the right. From here, some of you might bend your left knee, take your right hand and grab the outside edge of your left foot. Now you can keep drawing your heel pretty close to your tuchus and you'll feel that stretch if you lengthen your tailbone down towards your left knee. And it's a pretty fun, interesting stretch. And you might stay here and just breathe. Some of you might try to roll to your back. So you'll extend your left arm more towards the right. Your right shoulder will come towards the floor. And you might even inchworm your rib cage more towards, I guess now that's your left hand, which is the right side of your space. You might also then bring your left hand to the top of your right thigh. And you're just in this very awkward, twisting, back bendy shape. And you just pause and you breathe. And you notice what you notice. Awesome sauce. Now, this time, you're just going to keep rolling onto your back to come out of this shape. So you're going to make your way onto your back. You're going to re-square your butt underneath your shoulders and make sure you're on your mat in a way that feels good to you. And you just take a moment to lay there and just notice what you notice here. Nice job. Let's go ahead and bend our knees if our legs are straight. On your next in-breath, reach your right leg up towards the sky. Grab the back of your right thigh with your hands, and you can choose to circle that right ankle. You can point and flex that right foot. You can do none of the above and just stay here and breathe. Perhaps you bend and straighten that right leg, but you're just taking a couple of moments to just check in. This is a more familiar shape for us, so just see how that feels. Those of you that are in movement, let's start to find our way to stillness. And then let's flex through our right foot, bend, or rather cross our right ankle over the top of the left thigh, bending at the knee, and then thread your hands through the hole to grab the back of your left thigh, maybe front of your left shin. And with that right foot super duper active, just notice what that feels like to press the outer right ankle against the top of the left thigh. And then notice if the weight is dipping more to your right hip or if you can balance it on your, there you go, Barbara, balance it on your sacrum so it's evenly distributed. Nice. All right. When you're done here with that next breath, I want you to release your hands, draw the left foot back to the floor, and then plant the right foot right next to it. And again, just take a moment, notice how you're feeling, notice what you notice. And then we'll try the other side. Next in-breath, left leg reaches up, grab the back of the left thigh with both hands. And again, maybe you circle the ankle, maybe you point and flex the foot, maybe you bend and straighten that knee. Whatever you're doing, just allow yourself to really connect in with the sensations. In order for us to find balance, ironically enough, you have to be aware of when you're not balanced. And so we're just taking our time to see how that will play out a little bit later. Okay, if you're in movement, go ahead and come to stillness. Flex through your left foot. Go ahead and externally rotate the left thigh, bend the left knee, stack the left ankle on the top of the right thigh, thread your hands through the hole, and maybe grab the back of your right thigh, front of your right shin. Again, make sure that that left ankle is actively pressing into the right thigh knee area. And then maybe check in. Is your weight dipping more to the left outer hip, or do you feel the right outer hip equally rooted onto the mat? And then check in with your shoulders, and check in with your jaw, and check in with your breath. Nice work. The end of your next exhalation, release your hands. Draw the right foot to the floor, draw the left foot to the floor. Pause. From here, let's bring our hands down alongside our hips. Walk your feet in so they're about hip distance apart. And then spin your heels out 1 millimeter. So they're just a little bit wider. Now from here, inhale, press through your feet, lift your hips, lift your arms up and over your head. As you exhale, keep your hands on the floor and slowly roll down your spine until your butt touches. Once your pelvis touches the floor, you'll inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips. And then as you exhale, hands and hips come back to that starting position, rolling down the spine. Okay, we're going to do a slight variation now. Lift all 10 toes up and away from the floor. And then inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips, lift the hands. Once your hands touch, keep the toes lifted and exhale, slowly roll down the spine, bone by bone by bone. Nice work. Keep the toes lifted when the tailbone touches. Inhale, lift the hips. And then as you exhale, hands and hips back to the starting position. Pause. We're going to do another variation. Lower the toes, walk the feet a little closer to your bum. Lift your heels away from the floor. And then inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips up and over, or the arms up and over the head. As you exhale, keep the heels lifted, slowly roll down the spine, bone by bone. Hands stay on the floor. Nice work. When your pelvis hits, inhale, lift the hips. Keep the heels lifted, yep. And then exhale, lower the hands and lower the hips all the way back down to that starting point. Great, you get to figure out which one felt best to you and do one more on your own. So inhale, press through the feet, lift the hips, lift the arms up and overhead. As you exhale, slowly roll down the spine, bone by bone. Once your pelvis hits, inhale, push through the feet, lift the hips. And exhale, hands come down, hips come down. Cool. Adding on, keep your feet rooted on the floor. Inhale, push down through the feet, lift the hips up and over, or lift the hips and lift the arms up and overhead. Stay here, lift your right leg up towards the sky. Stay here, externally rotate the right leg, bend the right knee, cross the right ankle over the top of your hips, yep. And then on your next exhale, lower the hands back down alongside your hips. Great. Keep your hips lifted, push through the feet. Inhale, lift your hips a little higher. And then exhale, bring your butt to touch the floor. Inhale, push through the foot, lift your hips once again. And exhale, lower down. You've got 5 of these. And so your hands will stay on the floor. You're really pushing down into the floor with the foot and the arm and the upper arm as you lift and lower the hips. So it's been a while since we've done this type of targeted glute. So if you feel that supporting leg, so for most of us, that's our left leg, just notice what you notice as you lift and lower. We've got 2 more on your own. And you're just pausing and breathing. Okay, this next time you lift your hips, go ahead and stay there. And we're going to just breathe for 3 breath cycles. So push down into your left foot, lift your right hip up just a smidge because it tends to dip. Yep, push down into your arms. And then on your next exhale, gently lower all the way down. Keep that right ankle crossed. Open your arms out into a T shape. From here, push down into your left foot, slide your hips over to the right and put your pelvis back down. Now, your choice is to allow the right foot to come to the floor and maybe bring your left hand to the inner right thigh as you push it away and you find again a twist, perhaps looking over to the right. And you just pause and you breathe here, and you pause and you breathe here. Nice work. On your next in-breath, we're going to gently unwind that and come back through center. And then again, find homeostasis and center. So bring your hips hip distance apart or your feet hip distance apart. Bring your hands alongside your hips. Okay. And then we'll try it this way. So inhale, push through your feet, lift your hips, lift your arms up and overhead. As you exhale, go ahead and root into your right foot, lift your left leg up towards the sky. Externally rotate that left leg, bend the left knee, put the left ankle on the top of the right thigh. Next exhale, lower your hands back down alongside your hips, and then notice if you want to tuck your shoulders underneath you a little bit so you have some uh, pressure to push or capacity to push. And then you'll inhale and lift your hips a little higher, and then exhale, lower your pelvis down. And we did 6 on the first side, so we'll do 6 on this side. So you're just lifting and lowering. And we're really paying attention to what's happening in our hips. Are they both lifting and lowering at the same rate? Are we actively pushing down into our right foot? I've noticed that when I do this, I have to really push into my big toe mound a little bit more so I feel the activation across the leg evenly. All right. I think we have one more. All right, this next time that we're up, we're going to pause and stay here. So again, we're going to see if we can breathe, pushing down into the foot, pushing down into the upper arms, lifting both hip bones evenly. On your next exhale, lower the pelvis back down. Open the arms out into a T shape. Push into your left foot, or sorry, your right foot. Lift your hips up into the left, and then allow the legs to fall over towards the right. And again, the right hand might come to the belly of the left thigh. You might push the left knee away from you to find a gentle stretch happening across your TFL. You're just pausing and you're breathing. Great. Next in breath, gently unwind, come back through center, uncross the legs. And then before we go on, let's bring our hands alongside our hips. Walk your shoulder blades underneath you. Push through your feet. Lift your hips one more time just to find the balanced shape. You might walk your shoulder blades underneath you a little bit more. You might grab the outer edges of your mat. You might interlace your hands. Wherever you are, see what it feels like to push down into your heels and isometrically pull them back towards your shoulders. See if you can lift your sternum to your chin, draw your chin to your sternum. And then on your next exhale, release the hands, untuck the shoulders, bring the pelvis back down. This time I want you to bring your hands to the tops of your thigh bones. So your fingertips are pointing up towards your knees. Push your thighs away from your head to find some elongation in your low back. Right? And we'll gently release that. Lift your shin bones parallel to the floor. Knees are bent at a 90-degree angle. We kind of know where we're going with this. Your hands are going to come to the belly of your thighs. You're going to push your push your hands into your thighs and kick your knees into your hands. And we're going to be here for 3. We're going to kick and push for 2. We're going to kick and push for 1. Fantastic. Gently release that. Go ahead and open your arms out into a T shape. Keep the legs. Cross your right leg completely over your left leg. Now, imagining that we're 5-year-olds who need to pee and haven't told somebody, I really want you to squeeze your legs together really tightly so you feel your outer shin bones start to hug in towards each other. Now, as your outer right shin and outer left shin are really squeezing into each other, bring your right hand on top of your left or your right thigh and left hand right on top of the right. And you're going to push your hands into your knees and kick your knees into your hands. And then we'll breathe here for 3. Push your hands into your knees for 2. Push your hands into your knees for 1. Fantastic. Gently release the hands. Gently uncross the legs. Awesome sauce. We have to do the other side. So your legs are still hovering. Shins are parallel-ish to the floor. Cross your left shin over your right shin. And then hug your shins together as tightly as you can. So we're in sort of a Garudasana eagle leg. So outer shin bones are touching in. And then you're going to bring your left hand on top of your left thigh, your right hand on top of your left hand. And again, hug those shin bones in. Push your hands into your knees. Hug your knees into your hands. And you feel your core starts to come on for 3, for 2, for 1. Fantastic. Release the hands, uncross the legs, lower your feet to the floor. And thank God we're done with that. Now you might move around just a little bit. You might do none of the above, but just notice what you notice. We did a little bit of intensity, but how do you feel now? And then let's go ahead and come to stillness. If we're in movement, extend your right hand alongside your ears, roll over onto your right side, continue to roll up to hands and knees. Now, at this point, if your knees are sensitive, you might put a blanket underneath your knees. You might not. It's totally up to you, but you choose your own adventure. And then I want you to take whatever organic movement feels good to you once you've got your blanket if you're using it. So if you want to just sway a little bit right to left, do that. If you want to take your little side crawly things, do that. If you want to rest, hey, by all means, do that. But you're just exploring what you feel like doing. And then from here, you might start to find more traditional cats and cows and just feeling what that feels like to find the full extension and contraction of the spine. So flexion and extension and just feeling what that feels like. Nice work. All right. And if you're not exploring cats and cows, feel free to catch up whenever you are ready. From here, we're going to find ourselves in a neutral spine. Walk your knees, ankles, and shins together. Tuck both sets of toes under, and then start to walk yourself back for our fun, happy toe squat. And again, you want to make sure that you have hold your pinky toes under so that they don't miss out on any of the action. And then from here, we're going to tuck our thumbs underneath our palms and our fingers over our thumbs. And imagine that for some reason, we're all super cool and we're revving up our motorcycle. And we're just stretching and extending the muscles, the extensors of the wrists. And then after you've done that, you're going to turn your palms to face up and you're going to make the slowest, most awkward circles on the face of the planet. And you'll go about 4 directions or 4 circles, one direction, and then go ahead and switch that. And if you're still in toe squat and you're like, I'm ready to come out of this, by all means, come out of that. We have 2 more things here. So if that's you, by all means, no worries. Okay, once you're bounced between the circles, we're going to stop. And I want you to flick as though you're trying to splash water at me. We're going to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then up and over our heads for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Awesome. Go ahead and shake that out. Release forward onto hands and knees. Pitter patter your toes, having a happy little temper tantrum if you'd like. And then conversely, you can shift your weight back and lift one end or both knees up and away from the floor if that feels good to you. Great. And then when you feel complete with that, we'll meet back in our tabletop position. Okay, so from tabletop, go ahead and extend your left leg long and back behind you. And then float your left leg parallel to the floor. Now, we want to pull all of our organs away from the floor, push into your left hand, and reach your right arm parallel to the floor. And we're going to pause and stay here for about 5 breath cycles. So you keep scooping your organs away from the floor. You continue to push down into your right shin, your left hand, and then see if you can lift even more through that inner left thigh. Lengthen through your crown and then reach back through your tail. On your next exhale, the right hand will return to the floor. Great. From here, you're going to start to inhale and open your left leg to the left. And then exhale, drop back towards the midline. And we've got 5 of these. So gradually you're going to work that left leg to being at a 90-degree angle where it will be directly out towards your left. But we're taking our time to get there. We're also toning glute med and glute max as we're doing this. So hello, butt. And on our 5th one, so I think this is our last one, we're going to hold that left leg out to the left and then lower the left foot down so the left foot is in line with the right knee. Great. Now, some of you will walk your hands forward and take Anahatasana as your chest melts to the floor. Some of you are just going to bring your elbows to the floor or blocks so you can find this fun, crazy stretch happening across the inside edge of your left leg. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pressing your left pinky toes all the way down to the floor. Nice job. When you're ready, start to bring your hands underneath your shoulders. And then we're going to walk our hands over to the right. Now, when our hands come to the right hand is in line with the right knee. And then you see if you can push into the right hand and roll your rib cage towards the left. From here, your left arm will rainbow up and over your head, and we'll find this long, crazy side body stretch. So Barbara, yeah, walk your right hand a little bit more to the right so you're more in a lateral plane. There we go. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will bring your left hand to the back of your head, and you can play with maybe looking up towards the sky. It just stretches what's happening here along the front of your left side body. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're noticing what you notice. Nice work. Okay, now from here, we're going to bring our left hand to the floor just a little bit. Walk your right hand out to the right a smidge. Shift your weight forward and float your left leg up. And I want you to bring your left hand to your left butt and find the spot where if you actually touch your butt, you feel your butt muscles engage because of where you've lifted your leg. For me, it feels like it's slightly back behind me. It's not directly in front. And then once you find that, you'll go ahead and lift your left arm back up. Great. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will bend your left knee. You'll grab your left foot with your left hand. Draw your heel pretty close to your butt. Push down into your right hand. Roll your rib cage forward. And then maybe kick your left foot back for this half bow pose. And you just pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Nice job. If you've done all that, gently draw the heel closer to your butt, release the leg long, reach the left arm high, then bring the foot to the floor as you bring the left hand to the floor. Crawl yourself back to center. So hands come back towards the left into center. Now, this is not going to be fun, and I'm not going to lie. You're going to lift that left leg up. You're going to swim the left leg back behind you. And I want you to see if you can feel the muscles on the inside edge of your left leg tone. Once you feel them tone, cross the leg a little further and put the heel down behind you. So the hard part is over. Now with your toes curled under, you can look over your right shoulder and find a fun stretch by maybe pulsing forward and back through that left heel. And you just pause and you breathe. Great. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will draw your left knee to the outside edge of your right knee and then swim your left toes back to your right toes. So your feet are more in that eagle shape, and you'll just start to walk yourself back just a little. They should find a little bit of compression on the back of the bent knee side. Great. And then you're going to slightly come out of that. Now, take your left shin to the back of your right shin. And we haven't done this in a while, so you're just going to do a little dragging up and down and feel what that feels like. And you might choose to do a little sawing action too, right to left. And you might even choose to do what's called the pin and stretch. So just compressing the back of the shin bone into the back of the calf muscle. And you're just paying attention. What allows you to feel a little bit of change so that you can come back to your balance? Okay, awesome sauce. And then let's go ahead and come back to center. Extend your left leg back. And then we're going to try all that on the other side. So you might want to take a cat and cow first, just so you can feel a sense of neutrality. And then let's find our way back to a neutral spine. Extend your right toes back. Float your right leg parallel to the floor. Again, scoop all the organs away from the floor and extend your left arm forward. And we'll just pause and breathe here for about 5 breath cycles. So you're really pushing down into your right hand. You're really pushing down into your left shin. You're really lengthening your tailbone back as your crown goes forward, as your left arm goes forward. And then you're pulling all of your organs in to support. Awesome sauce. Next exhale, go ahead and lower that left hand down. Make sure your right foot is flexed. And then you'll inhale and start to open your right leg to the right. And again, we've got 5 of these. So the right leg eventually makes its way directly out to the right, but the first few could be really small. You're just seeing how glute med, glute min, maybe in parts of glute max want to participate. And we're trying to move slowly and methodically. Awesome sauce. I think we have one more. The next time that right leg is out to the right, go ahead and lower the right foot down onto the floor so the right foot is in line with your left knee. And then again, some of you might bring blocks underneath your elbows and lower your elbows down. Some of you might walk your hands forward and come more into an anahatasana shape. Whatever you're doing, we're pressing down onto the pinky toe edge of our right foot. The right arch of the foot is lifting up and away from the floor. And you'll notice that that travels up through the inner thigh, maybe all the way up towards your pelvis. And you're just pausing and you're breathing. Nice. Gently start to walk your hands back underneath your shoulders. And then we're going to crawl our hands over towards the left. Once you're there, make sure the left hand is in line with your left knee. Push down into your left hand and roll your rib cage to the left. From here, we'll rainbow our right arm up and over our head. And you might choose to stay here with a long arm, almost finding a Michael Jackson pelvic thrust with the pelvis. You might bend your right elbow, hold your head with your hand, and maybe play with rotating your gaze up or down to find a stretch along the right side body. Nice work. All right, we're going to start to bring our right hand back to the floor. Walk your left hand out a smidge, so it's probably just a little bit of an inch, and then shift your weight into the left hand, left shin, float your right thigh parallel to the floor. Again, bring your right hand to touch your butt. Where do you find that spot where it feels almost like a nutcracker, like you could really crack something? It's a really hard muscle engagement. I shouldn't say hard, but it's firm engagement. And then maybe you'll lift your right arm up. Some of you will just stay here in this half Chapasana shape or half Ardha Chandrasana shape. Some of you will bend your right knee, grab your right foot, draw the right heel pretty close to your bum. And then again, you'll push down into your left hand. Your left ribs will roll forward. Your right ribs will roll back. Maybe you'll kick your right leg back and find Ardha Chapasana. So it's a half moon. You just pause and you breathe. Awesome. And if you've done that, gently draw the heel closer to your butt. Release your foot, again, finding the muscles underneath your leg. Float your right arm up, and then we're going to lower the right leg. We're going to lower the hands and crawl our hands back to center. Great. From here, lift the right leg up. Draw the right leg back behind you and pause for a moment. Make sure your inner right thigh muscle is active. So if you want to touch that, go ahead and touch that. And then lower the foot down, curl the toes under, look over your left shoulder. And again, you might play with pulsing a little forward and back. You're just pausing and you're breathing. Great. Some of you will stay with that. Some of you will draw your right shin outside of your left shin. So toes point back towards each other, knees hugging towards each other. And you might walk yourself back. And it's just a little bit of compression that you'll feel specifically on that left side. And you pause and you breathe. And then we'll go ahead and crawl ourselves forward. Draw your right shin to the back of your left calf. And then again, maybe you drag it up and down towards your knee, towards your foot. Maybe you go right to left, sawing a little bit. And maybe you do the pin and the stretch, finding a couple of places that just feel like a good pain. You've got a couple more breath cycles doing whatever the heck you're happening to be doing. And then once you're complete, you'll come back to hands and knees. You'll extend your right leg back just for a moment. And let's go ahead and bring both knees to the mat, curl both sets of toes under, walk your hands forward about an inch or two, and lift your pelvis up and back for downward facing dog. Now, today in our downward facing dog, we're going to do something that's probably not going to feel fun, but hopefully it's not too bad. I want you to bend your right knee, keep your left leg straight, and then see if you can lift just your left toes. So right knee's bent, left leg straight, left toes lift up. Push down into the ball of your left foot and drag it back. And then we'll try the other side. So you'll bend just your left knee. Your right leg is straight. You'll lift all 5 toes of that right leg and isometrically pull back with your ball of your foot. And then if that felt interesting, you might choose to do that again each side. You might choose to just simply pedal the feet without lifting the toes or doing that isometric drawback. But you just pause and you see what that feels like. And then when you're complete, go ahead and come to stillness and then start to walk your feet towards your face. Now, once you get your feet all the way up to where your hands are, I want you to stay there with feet about hip distance apart. And just notice what your legs feel like now. Notice how heavy you can make your head. Awesome. And then when you're ready, you're going to bend your knees and slowly roll up your spine, bone by bone, by bone by bone, by bone by bone. Slowly making your way up to stand in Tadasana, mountain pose. Awesome. And when you're up, if you need to circle the shoulders, circle the shoulders. If you need to wiggle around, wiggle around. Gradually, we're going to make our way to bring our hands to our hips. And I want you to just bend your knees a few times. So these are called demi-plies in ballet. Your heels stay on the floor. You're just bending and straightening your legs, trying to keep your spine as much in its neutral anatomical position as possible. And some of you will continue with just the bending and the straightening of the legs. Some of you might want to try lifting and lowering your heels. And depending upon how your feet are feeling, that may or may not go so well. So you just see how that goes. Okay. And after we've tried them by themselves, maybe we put them together. So you bend the knees. Yeah, there we go. Finding a plie. And what in ballet would be called a releve. Awesome. And we'll just do one more set. Great. Now start to transfer your weight to your right foot. And we're going to create little ankle circles with our left foot, drawing our knee up. And then reverse the circles as you draw the knee down. And then you'll shift your weight to your left foot. And then again, little ankle circles as you lift the knee. Whoa, that one's funny. Mentally, that doesn't want to work. And then reverse the circle as you lower the knee down. Okay, we'll do that again. So shift our weight to our right foot. You can circle the ankle or not as you lift the left knee. But this time I want you to open the left knee and then plant the left foot maybe on the inner thigh, maybe on the ankle, maybe on the floor. Wherever you are, if you need to use your hand to get your foot where you want it to be, by all means do that. And then you're going to push your foot into your inner thigh into your foot, your outer thigh into your inner thigh, and maybe bring your hands to heart center, maybe keep them on your hips. But just notice, homeostasis means we go out of balance and then come back into it. Finding our balance means we fall out of balance to come back in it. It's not this rigid state. And when you're ready, you'll come out. Lower it down. Take a moment to just notice the difference between the sides. Find your balance again. And then we'll go ahead and test it again. So shift the weight to your left leg. Float your right leg up. Externally rotate your right thigh. And then maybe put the foot on the thigh, on the calf, on the floor. Or maybe you use your hand to help you put that foot where you want it to go. And then again, you push the foot into the thigh. You push the thigh into the foot. You push the outer thigh into the inner thigh. Whoa. And then maybe you bring your hands to heart center. And if your left foot is wobbling, fantastic. You're balancing. If it's not fantastic, you're balancing. Coming in and out. That's the whole process. And then when you're ready, we'll gently come out of the shape. Cool. If you need to shake things out, go ahead and shake things out. Okay. Let's move on. Feet hip distance apart. Go ahead and inhale, sweep your left arm up and overhead. And we'll take a little baby side bend. So you're really pushing your right hand into your right hip. You're reaching up through your left hand. You're rooting down through your left foot. So you're pushing from your left heel down into the floor. And maybe you peek underneath your left armpit, finding a little bit of a side body stretch there. Nice work. Next in breath, go ahead and come up to center. Lower that hand down. Bring your left hand to your left hip. Inhale, sweep your right arm out and up and overhead. And again, little baby side bend. Root down through your right heel. Lightly press in with your left hand, finding a nice elongation on our side body. Great. Inhale, go ahead and come up. This is a little bit weirder than what we've done normally, so no worries. Let's bring our hands to our hips. And again, we're gonna play with bending our knees. So some of you at this point will want to walk your knees together. Some of you may want to grab a block. You're gonna either put the block between your inner thighs or block between your shins, but we're gonna use that to press in. And you're gonna, again, bend your knees and straighten your legs. Now, the weird part is what's going to happen now. So hands are on your hips. You're just bending and straightening that leg. Okay, now let's go ahead and find a depth for chair pose that we feel comfortable in. Squeeze that block for dear life, whether it's between your inner thighs or your shins, you're really hugging in. Then reach your arms forward like happy little zombies. Cross your left elbow on top of your right and give yourself a hug. Now you might stay here. You might bring the backs of your palms to touch. You might bring the fronts of your palms to touch. But you're just finding that breath, that width across your upper back. You're seeing if you can scoop your belly to support the organs or pull the organs towards the spine, and then lift up through the crown of your head. Nice job. When you're ready, you're going to gently reach the arms forward back to the weird cross shape. Uncross the arms. Cross the right arm over, then give yourself a hug. Again, maybe you stay here. Maybe you bring the backs of the palms to touch. Maybe you bring the fronts of the palms to touch. If you're doing that, your elbows are in line with your shoulders. You're drawing your organs back towards your spine and lifting up through the crown, down through the tail as you're continuing to breathe and sit low in your chair pose. Last 2 breath cycles here. Nice work. Very gently uncross the hands. Bring your hands to your hips and stand up. Fantastic. We're done with that. Go ahead and remove that block. If you need to wiggle things out, wiggle things out. Cool. Now, last little balance pose. So we're going to bend our knees. You're going to cross your left leg all the way up and over like you have to pee. So like really have to pee. You really have to pee. Left leg is going very far over to the right. You'll notice that there's a lot of space between the legs, hands are on the hips. And then see how deep you can bend into that right leg. Some of you will stay here. Some of you will draw your left shin to touch your right shin. And you might just stay here. Toes are perched onto the floor, perfectly balanced. Some of you might be like, yeah, I want to try and just bring the top of my left foot to the back of my right shin. Right knee has to bend quite a bit to let that happen. And then you'll reach your arms forward and then maybe right arm underneath, left arm on top, give yourself a hug, maybe double wrap the arms, maybe not, but you're really squeezing your legs together like you gotta pee. You're sitting low in that right leg. Nice job. When you're ready to come out, gently release the arms, draw the left foot back to the floor, go ahead and straighten the right leg and uncross the left. And then come back to center. Maybe you shake things out. Maybe you wiggle around. Maybe you're completely still, but just notice what you notice. And then we'll try all that on the other side. So hands come to your hips. Bend your knees a lot. Take your right leg up and over to the left, like you really have to pee and you don't want anything to go. And notice that there's space between your shin bones. So keep that space. Bend super deep. Maybe you stay there. Maybe you walk your right foot in. Maybe you're like, I want to try the balance. And maybe you hook your right foot behind the back of your left calf. From there, arms are forward. The right arm is on top, left arm underneath. Maybe you give yourself a hug. Maybe you double wrap the arms. Whatever you do, your legs are hugging together for dear life. The foot may wobble or not. That's okay. Nice job. When you're ready to come out, you release the arms, You release the right foot to the left. You straighten the left leg. You straighten, or rather uncross the legs. And we take a moment to pause and we take a moment to breathe. Awesome. That wasn't too bad. All right. Let's come to the tops of our space. If you've got a blanket, you might want to move it. And we're just going to try a Surya Namaskar and see how that feels. This is generally something you start with, but that's not what we did today. So we'll see what happens. So standing at the top of your feet or mat, feet hip distance apart. Inhale, circle, sweep your arms up and overhead. As you exhale, hinge forward at your hips, arm variation of your choice. On your next in-breath, slowly halfway lift, Ardha Uttanasana. And then exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step your right foot back, step your left foot back, plank pose. Take a breath cycle here. Next inhalation, shift your weight forward, and as you exhale, lower all the way down to the mat. When you're ready, pull yourself forward to cobra or up dog, your choice, but take a breath there. And then exhale, lower all the way down. Inhale through hands and knees or plank. And then exhale back to downward facing dog. 3 breaths. And you just notice. Find the elongation through your spine by tipping at the pelvis, lifting the inner thighs up and back. The end of your next exhale, bend the knees and walk the feet towards the top of your space. Yep. From there, inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold in. And then bend your knees, inhale, roll all the way up the spine, bone by bone. Head is the last thing to come to vertical. Once you find yourself vertical, take a moment to maybe roll the shoulders back. And then last, Surya Namaskar. Inhale, circle, sweep the arms up and overhead. Exhale, fold forward at the hips, Uttanasana, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. And this time as you exhale, let's pause here and just take a moment to really let the head be heavy, to really let the legs be long, and just find this forward fold, finding that full length across the back of your body, all the way in. Great. From here, inhale, halfway lift. And then exhale, bend your knees, plant your palms, step back, plank pose. Again, another slow cycle through an up dog or cobra. And then you'll make your way back to downward facing dog. And then can you guys drop to your knees for just a moment? It's 9:12 now. I had one more thing I wanted to have us try. Should we wind down or do we want to try one more thing? One more thing? Okay. All right, let's go back to downward facing dog. This is just to open your hips so you feel a little bit better before we go to Shavasana. Inhale, sweep your right leg up and back. Take a moment to pause here. You might choose to stay here. You might bend your top knee and open and stack your hips, but just pay attention to what's feeling good to you. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're pausing and you're breathing. On your next exhale, step your right foot quietly between your hands. Now, at this point, you might need to bring a block underneath your left hand. And then bring your right hand to the outside edge of your right thigh. Lift up through your left thigh a lot. Reach your your left heel back, your right knee forward, and then start to rotate your rib cage towards the right. Some of you will continue to push your right knee to the right as you push your, hand into the left. Some of you might reach up through your top arm, your right arm, and you just find this rotation, and you just pause and you breathe. Nice. On your next exhale, go ahead and come back through center. Lower your back knee down to a blanket or the mat. And then from here, just take a moment to push down into your front foot, push down into your back knee, and bring yourself up to vertical. Now, you might stay here. We're just isometrically pulling our left knee forward. We're isometrically pulling our right foot back. You might reach up through your left arm. And we're just finding a nice, gentle stretch here across the front of our side body. Some of you might take a little bit of a baby side bend towards your right, and you just pause and you breathe. Your tailbone is lengthening down. Your left fingers are reaching up and to the right. Great. Next in-breath, go ahead and come back to center. As you exhale, both hands come to floor or blocks. Shift your weight back and slide your right foot forward just a smidge. Now pull all 5 toes of your right foot back towards your face. Push down into your right heel. Push down into your left knee. Draw those points together. And maybe you stay here. Maybe you externally rotate your right leg just a little bit. But you're trying to pull your sternum forward. So the blocks help because they give you a little bit more space. So if you feel like you might want more space between your thigh and your chest, maybe use your blocks, and it will make it easier for your pubic bone to come forward, your sternum to come forward, your head to lift. Yeah, all right. Fantastic. Let's go ahead and come forward, plant your hands, and make your way back to downward facing dog. And just notice what you notice between the sides. Awesome sauce. And then let's try the other side. Inhale, sweep your left leg up and back. And again, you might stay here. You might bend and stack, or bend that top knee and stack that top hip. But just take a moment to pause and breathe and feel how that feels. And then as you're ready, we'll draw the left foot between our hands. Bring a block underneath our right hand. Draw our left hand to the outside edge of our left thigh. Now again, start by lifting your right inner thigh. So you might actually have to lift your whole pelvis and then reach back through the right heel, reach forward through the sternum, push out into the left hand, pull in with the left hand, and rotate your rib cage to the left. You might choose to stay here. You might extend up through your left arm, but we're just finding this elongation and this rotation. Great. When you're ready, gently unwind. Lower your back knee down to the mat or your blanket, and then start to walk your hands up the center of your front thigh. Now again, you're pulling left foot back, right knee forward. We're drawing those front ribs in and back. And you might choose to reach your right arm forward and up, and happy as a clam. Stay right here, just breathe. Other option is maybe to take a side bend, and it's a maybe. You do it if it feels like it's a good challenge, good release. Then you pause and you breathe wherever you are. If you're on that side bend, you gently come back up through center. You bring your hands back to the floor or blocks beneath you. You shift your weight back. You straighten your front leg long. You might need to slide your left foot forward and then pull all 5 toes back towards your face. And again, lightly push down into your left heel. Push down into your right knee. Drag those points together and notice that that gives you the impetus, the power to maybe draw your sternum forward a little bit. And then you might choose to externally rotate that left leg. The toes are still actively drawing back towards the kneecap, and you're breathing quite a bit. Nice job. All right. Next in breath, we'll gently come back through center, shift your weight forward, and step yourself back to downward facing dog. Notice how your down dog feels now. Okay. Let's go ahead and inhale and come forward into plank. Slower than you want to, lower all the way down onto your stomach. Yeah, nice control. Look at that. When you find yourself on your tummy, go ahead and bend both knees. Reach around and grab your outer ankles with your hands. And you're not doing anything here. You're just literally bending the knees and just seeing how close your feet want to get to your butt. Just feeling what that feels like. All right. Gently release your feet and hold on to your butt. Oh, that's funny. Hold on to your butt. And Make your feet long on the floor beneath you. And when I say hold on to your butt, there's like you've got a butt flap where your butt ends and your leg starts. See if you can bring your hands to where your butt flap is. So it's a little bit underneath your butt cheeks. Okay. Now from here, let's draw our shoulders up towards our ears. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back and then lift your ears in line with the tops of your shoulders. And I want you to start to squeeze your muscles around your hands. So if your hands are at your butt flap, you can start to tone your hamstrings and your glutes and you'll feel that. Fantastic. And then from there, start to reach so far back through your feet that they have no choice but to float up and away from the floor. And you feel that activation in your butt flap increase. So some of you will stay here and just enjoy your butt flap. Some of you might see if you can draw your shoulder blades together on your back and lift your chest a little higher. Yeah. Some of you will squeeze your or bend your knees as you squeeze your butt flap even more, and you'll feel that those muscles engage. And then some of you will reach and grab the tops of your ankles. Now, if you've gotten through all of that, you might be able to then lift up to Dhanurasana. And suddenly you find that by engaging your butt flap and drawing your shoulder blades on your back, actually surprisingly not as hard as we thought it would be. Great. And then when you're ready, you'll gently release. You'll come back to heads up, 7-up style, the very same position we started in. Hooray for us. And you'll just breathe. Heads up, 7-up. Heads up, 7-up. Oh, hi, pretty puppy. Heads up, 7-up. And you just breathe and you notice what you notice. Okay. And then our very last shape before I let you do whatever the heck you want to. Let's find ourselves back into Sphinx pose. Walk your forearms in so your elbows are aligned with your shoulders and bring your palms to touch for prayer. Walk your elbows in just a smidge of where your shoulders are. And then you're going to start to look under and see if you can see your own pubic bone. And then you're going to look under, and some of you are going to stay here with your knees on the floor. Some of you are going to curl your toes under and maybe lift your knees up and away from the floor so you can see your toes. And suddenly we find ourselves in forearm plank. Look at us go. Push down into those forearms. Lift the organs away from the floor. And we'll breathe here for 3. We'll breathe here for 2. We'll breathe here for 1. Some of you will stay right here. Some of you will start to walk your feet towards your face and lift your hips towards the sky. And you'll push down through your forearms and scoop your organs away from the floor and suddenly find yourself in a dolphin pose. And if you're not doing that, that's fantastic too. And those of you that are doing that, just take a couple of breaths there. And then when you're ready to come out, you find yourself in child's pose. That's very stable. And you find yourself in child's pose, and you just pause and you breathe. Homeostasis. One of the things I found interesting in sort of listening to a podcast about this earlier was this scientist from Stanford. I can't remember her name, so I'll have to look that up for you guys. But she seemed to suggest that when we do hard things, it releases the same type of dopamine, but a better type of dopamine than when we just do things that bring us pleasure. Awesome sauce. Those that are in child's pose, go ahead and sit up. And then you're going to make your way onto your backs. When you're on your back, find Supta Baddha Konasana. So soles of the feet together, knees open its blade like a book. Perhaps if you want your blocks, they can support the outer edges of your thighs. Perhaps you want to let gravity just have a little bit of pressure on your inner thighs. You choose what works for you for right now. Oh, Laura. And you'll just take a couple of breaths here and you'll notice what this feels like. Great. And some of you will choose to stay right here. Some of you will choose to take constructive rest. So your feet will go where your knees are and your knees will come together. And then you'll wrap your arms around your torso. So this is the very same shape we started in, more or less, at least with your arms. And you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And you'll pause and you'll breathe. And you'll just notice, what do you feel swirling around inside of you at this point? What sensations are alert to you? Take notice of which arm is on top, and on your next in-breath, open your arms, and as you exhale, switch whichever arm is on top. And as you're here, I want you to just pose a question to yourself. What is needed for you to feel like you can, hmm, I guess, get off that hedonic treadmill, as it were? What would allow you to get back to the things that help you feel most at ease? And sometimes it's not the easy things, it's not the pleasurable things, it's kind of doing the hard things. And sometimes the hard things for a lot of us is just letting go of something, of not doing something, of choosing to simplify. So as you're here for these last few moments, last few breaths, I encourage you to notice what final shape or shapes might feel comforting to you and make your way to that shape. If you want to cover the body because you tend to get cold or it's cold in your environment, by all means do that. But then make your way to your final shape. Nice job. And when you find yourself in your final shape, the first task is to bring your awareness to your breath. So I want you to just take a couple audible breaths in through the nose and audible exhale through the mouth. And every time you exhale, allow yourself to become a little bit heavier. Every exhale makes you a little bit heavier, a little bit softer. And then you'll allow your breath to start to fall into its more natural, its more involuntary state. But for your mind, can you allow your mind to just stay rested on the exhale? Noticing how with every exhale you can let go just a little bit more. Our quest for balance, ironically enough, or requires that we relinquish a sense of control. It requires that we open ourselves up to just trusting in the wobbles as they come. Noticing that every time we wobble, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, metaphorically, or literally, it allows us to gain a new type of understanding, a new type of strength. And if we're always holding on, we're always trying to control or direct it, we can't ever acquire that knowledge. We can't ever learn it. And so as you're here for these last few breaths, these last few moments, again, the invitation is always to just come back to the exhale, noticing how each one is unique, noticing how each one gives you the opportunity to perhaps soften in a different way, to change in a different way, to almost reveal more of who you are in a different way. I'll go ahead and leave you here with you, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. As you come back to your breath, just take a moment to check in. If there's any part of you longing to linger in this shape, please stay here. When you are ready, just allow movement to re-enter into the form, whatever way feels nurturing to you. Again, if you're in stillness, stay in stillness. Those in movement, you'll start to make your way to one of your sides. Those on your side, slowly start to make your way up to a tall and comfortable seat. When you're vertical, I encourage you to take the opportunity to sit well. So if you need to remove flesh, if you need to fidget around, by all means do that. And then we'll complete our practice by just bringing our hands to our heart space and taking a few breaths. A sense of equanimity, our balance, our poise, our kindness, our love, whatever you want to call it, our grace. It's maintained not through a sense of rigidity, but through a flexibility that comes with knowing that every time we fall off balance, we've gained a new awareness that will help us going forward retain that balance to show up more consciously with a bit of effort. As we leave our practice today, I invite you to notice where in your life that might be a helpful reminder. Maybe you said something you didn't want to say or did something you didn't want to do, but your sense of self, your balance, your equanimity isn't completely lost. It's only strengthened by these challenges. We'll complete our breath with our practice with collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Go ahead and exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in through the nose. Audible breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, the equanimity within me honors and salutes the light, the breath, the equanimity within each of you. Namaste.